Mark Santiago here, and welcome to the Empowered AF podcast, where each episode we share powerful strategies to help you communicate, act, and lead like an empowered man. Thanks for joining me. All right. We are live. I'm excited. It's Monday, and I know you're excited because it's Monday. Some of you go back to work today. Others of you don't. I go back to work today to be here with you guys and all of the glorious things that we get to do with the Empowered Man. It's been a pretty long day, lots of coaching calls, a few team meetings, and we are just constantly moving through things. So today, I really wanted to get started talking about some things. This week in particular, I've got hopefully 3 trainings lined up for this week that I'm excited to release to you guys in here. Based on conversations I've been having, we've grown this group quite a bit. I think we've doubled in size in the last month and a half, which is extremely exciting. And we're not done. Like, we've got plenty more to do. We got plenty more to go. We're really excited about the opportunities that are before us. And in doing that, sometimes we have to kind of bring people back to the forefront of who we are, what we do, and all of those things. But in the context of that, I'm going to be talking about marriage. I'm going to be talking about you. I'm going to be talking about your responsibility and all those things. Today in particular, one of the biggest questions I hear a lot is, if my wife has left me, if she's with another man, or if she's left me, says, I don't want to be married to anymore, how do I know when she's ready to come back to the marriage? Now, today's conversation really isn't going to be a long one. I don't think we need to talk for too much time about this particular issue, but I do think it's a very, very, very important issue. And that is, how do I know when my wife is ready to come back to the marriage? Okay. So here's the thing, is that anything but full commitment from your wife means she's not ready. Okay. What happens is guys are constantly looking for what I call false positives. So let me talk about what a false positive is. A false positive is anytime your wife kind of does like a head shake, right? Like it looks like she's wanting to come back to the marriage. She says something nice to you. She does something for you. She makes you breakfast. She washes your car in a bikini. She, decides to have sex with you. She holds your hand. She looks at you and says, I love you. All of those things are what I call false positives. And your brain and your heart are all looking for those things. You are looking to justify in your mind that it's okay, that everything's going to be all right, that all the shitstorm is over, that hallelujah, she loves me. But in reality, she might not. And so, guys, as we traverse this journey that we are on, we must stop looking for false positives. Now, I want to set the frame because all these new guys that are coming to the group, a lot of them have a lot of fucking opinions. And I'm going to tell you to keep your opinions to yourself, okay? I'm not saying that I don't want to hear your perspective. What I'm saying is that some of you are just throwing shit against the wall and saying, well, brother, you got to do this, and you got to do that, and you got to do this, and you got to do that. Look, I want you guys to be in this group, but I'm telling you right now that most of you, 99% of you, don't know what the fuck you're talking about in this guy's life. You know why? Not because you're not smart, and not because you don't know what to do in these situations. It's because you don't know fully what's going on. So I want to challenge this group to ask more questions. I want to challenge you to, when a guy shares his heart and shares his story and shares what's going on, to not just jump to conclusions. Oh, she's a bitch, you need to leave her. My wife did the same thing. To not project your shit onto another man, but to actually ask questions, to dig deeper, to ask what's really going on. What is he really doing? What is he really looking at? So in that same context, in that same vein, when we're talking about our wives and coming back to the marriage, if a guy says, guys, I don't know what to do. My wife said, I love you last night. And everybody says, woohoo, yeah, go for it, brother. No. Hold the fucking fort for a second, okay? You need to get really, really, really amazingly realistic about where your wife is at. You must, as we say in the VIP program, drink the truth serum. That truth serum is the understanding that your wife is not who she was 5 years ago, or 4 years ago, or 20 years ago, or last week in bed before she decided to leave you, or cheat on you, or whatever the fuck is going on. She is not the same person, okay? As well as she is not the person she will be in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years or 2 weeks from now. She's not that person. She is who she is now. That is all you know. Those are the fucking hashtag facts. Okay? 100 facts. She is who she is today. I don't care how great she was 5 years ago. I don't care how amazing of a mom she is. You cannot base your marriage and your future on someone who is not today who they were yesterday. I don't care if you go, well, that's not who she really is. All these things. The fact is, you are idealizing a person who has chosen to leave you in the marriage and has chosen to step away. Now, whether or not you are the biggest asshole and narcissist in the world doesn't matter to me at this point. It does in the big scheme of things, because if you are an asshole, then therefore you're not going to be accepted very well in here. It's just a fact of the matter. The fact is you have to get realistic on what she is today. You cannot be worried about where she's going to be tomorrow. You can't be worried about where she's going to be in 5 years. You can't worry about any of those things. You can only be focused on here and now. That is it. Okay. That's all you have in front of you is today. These 24 hours today. That's all you got. So here's the thing you got to do. Before we talk about what it looks like for her to come back to the marriage, I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to share these specific things that you need to be looking for. But before I share the specific things you need to be looking for, this is the one thing that you have got to stop doing. You have got to stop wasting your pain. You have got to stop wasting your pain. And here's why. Because you are in a shit ton of pain when you come into this group usually. You are going through all kinds of things. Your work life is a mess. Your kids are a mess. You're a mess. All these emotions are swirling, and you're looking for an outlet for that pain. And for you, an outlet is clarity, it's direction, it's moving towards something. And for just about every single guy in here, usually that means it's her coming back to the marriage. So as soon as she indicates, I want to come back to the marriage, the pain goes away, and we're like, oh my gosh, I'm in love again. And there's my babe. She's coming back to me. And we're so excited about the fact that this woman who's caused all this pain is now wanting to come back to the marriage in our minds. We're so excited about that. We've wasted the pain. Because I'm telling you guys, I was talking to a guy this morning. We were texting, and he said, I want nothing more in my life than to save my marriage. I said, sir, that's the wrong mindset. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, the fact that your wife has left you or has left the marriage or is cheating or whatever and says, I don't love you anymore, says whatever she says, the fact that you've now got pain means there's smoke coming out of your engine and the check engine light is on and you're driving and you see the smoke, you see the check engine light, and you're like, if I could just get to my destination, but I'm telling you, you're wasting your fucking pain. Because some of you will never make it to the destination of her coming back because you won't pull over to the side of the road and pop your fucking hood to see what the hell is happening under the hood. Because your heart is that engine. Your mind is that transmission. And there are some things that are happening inside of you that have either A, caused this shit or been a big contributing factor towards the failure of your marriage. And it is extremely important for you to stop focusing on her and the marriage and all of that stuff. And the number one thing, the only thing you have to do right now is focus on you. Focus on you. Some of you just got really uncomfortable because you're like, I don't want to do that. No, man, she fucked up. She's the one that's doing this. She's causing all this pain. She's the one that left the marriage. All this shit, you want to blame because you feel shame. Where there is shame, where there is blame, there is shame. Where there is blame, there is shame. That's not my quote. It's a therapist of some sort. Where there is blame, there is shame. You need to look internally at you before you can look for her to come back to the marriage. I'm about to tell you, I'm going to lay down for you the signs that we do need to look for. But before we get there, it is imperative that you begin to look at you. that you begin to look internally at you. Every single one of my best clients in the VIP program, before they come to the marriage, or excuse me, before they come into the program, have gotten to a place where they say, I want my wife. I want to be with my wife, but I know that I cannot save her or this marriage. The only person I can save is me. And so right now, moving forward, I'm joining this VIP program for the next 8 weeks, and I am going to work on me. And I am going to find out what is going on inside of me. This isn't some deep therapy shit that's going to make you look at events from 20 years ago. That's not what this is about. What this is about, what our program is about specifically, is about understanding how to communicate, set boundaries, own your shit, and become who you were meant to become within the context of marriage and outside the context of marriage. To actually understand who you are now that this shit has happened, because some of you have been living in a fog. And before she left, you were in a stupor, you were in a slumber, you weren't awake, and suddenly you're now awake because somebody just came and hit you upside the head with a 2x4. And now you're awake and you're like, holy shit, what is going on? How did this happen? You were asleep. You were living life sleeping at the wheel, and suddenly that car wreck is about to happen, and you're like, oh my God, Jesus, take the wheel. So don't go into this fog of like, now what do I do? Now what do I do? Where am I? What do I do? Where do I go? You need to anchor yourself back to the fact that you can only control you. And just stop wasting your pain. Okay. So now here are the things that you want to look for to know whether or not your wife is ready to come back to the marriage or has already made steps towards coming back to the marriage. Number one, she must be fully transparent. That is number one. She must be fully transparent about her desires, her wishes, her dreams, and her sins. If she has had an affair, she needs to be fully transparent about it. Now, if I were you, I'm not asking details. I don't think you need to know because all it will do will ruin your mind. You don't need to know all the intricate details of her affair. You don't need to know all the fucked up things that happened. What you need to know is that she comes clean about her shit and what she dealt with and what she did, and probably who, so that boundaries can be put in place. So, number one is being fully transparent. Number two, boundaries. That she is ready to accept boundaries into her life. That she is ready to set boundaries in her life, both for her sake and for your sake. That might mean that she has to do hard things that she's never done before. That also might mean that you might have to set boundaries that you've never set before. Number three, she is working on herself. Now, a lot of women will go, I need time away. I need to go live in a basement somewhere so I can work on myself. And I'm telling you, most of the time they're full of shit. Okay. So working on herself looks like her actually calling up a therapist or a counselor or a pastor or somebody that's professional or a coach that can help her, and she's investing time and finances. I don't care if you don't have finances. She needs to come up with $50 or whatever she's got to do to prove that she's investing in herself, that she is working on herself, that she's coming to the place of going, you know what? I caused some things. My husband caused some things, and I need to know what happened in myself that caused and allowed those things to happen. A lot of times with affairs, it's getting to the understanding of what she allowed to happen, what boundaries were crossed, what, trauma that she had from childhood that's unresolved, all of those things. But also, if there was no affair, then it's really looking at, okay, what caused me to get to the point where I did not communicate with my husband until it was too late? What are the things that I need to be working on to grow my own communication, my own boundaries, all of those things? So, number one, being fully transparent about her life, her desires, her dreams, her sins, all of those things. Number two, it's about boundaries. Her setting boundaries, you setting boundaries. That's what it starts to look like. Number three, she's working on herself. Okay. Number three, she's working on herself. Guess what else has to happen in that? You have to be working on yourself. Okay. You can't let her come back to the marriage until you have been working on yourself. Why? Because she will go back and do the same shit again, and you guys will find yourself in the same place. You'll find yourself in the same place. Jason, there is a video on boundaries that we can tag you in. I will have myself or my assistant tag you in that, and you can watch a video on boundaries. So you must work on yourself before the marriage can come back together. Okay, the number 4 thing is working on the marriage. She's willing to work on the marriage. She's willing to go to counseling after she's gone to counseling for herself. Maybe it's doing it at the same time, but she's going, hey, we haven't been great communicators. We need to come to grips with these things. Okay. And finally, final piece of this is full accountability. Full accountability. So the difference between transparency is sort of like being open and honest about the things that she feels, the things that she desires, right? All of those things. Accountability is just saying, hey, these are the boundaries we've set. These are the things you've said you're going to do. This is how we know that we're coming back together in marriage. And this is what full accountability looks like, is it's holding you to account of the things that you say you're going to do and honor. Okay, and that's full accountability. So in order for you to look at your wife, okay, all of you can do this right now, and you can go, all right, is my wife coming back to the marriage? These are the things that have to be on the table right now. If your wife is not being fully transparent, if there are no boundaries still, if she's hiding shit, if you're not sure about some things, you feel it in your gut she's not being honest. Okay? If she's not working on herself with a therapist, a counselor, a pastor, a coach, somebody that's a professional, somebody outside of her circle of friends, because her friends are not going to necessarily help her the way you want them to. If she's not working on the marriage, if she's not working on being a family, and if she's not coming into full accountability, then, gentlemen, I give you the fact that your wife has not come back to the marriage. It's plain and simple as day that if these things are not happening, if these things are not at play, then your wife is not coming back to the marriage right now, that you are seeing false positives, and that until these things are on the table, I would take it with a grain of salt. I would not look at it as hope, because I would look at it as a false positive. You can always have hope that someone will come back to you. You can always have hope, but keep that hope in your back pocket. And some of you are eternal optimists. I was one of those guys. And I just had such this like, well, all this great stuff's going to happen. And what happened was I accepted this person back into my life without meeting these conditions. And you know what happened? Guess what? We repeated ourselves. The shit happened again multiple fucking times. Because I was so quick to see the positives and go, but that's not my wife. She wouldn't do that. And she didn't mean to do that. And that wasn't really her. But guess what? It was. It was. It was her. She made the fucking choice. She made the conscious decision to do the things that she's done. And therefore, she must own it, just like you, mister, have to own you. So let me switch gears here for a second. Too many of you come in here and you're like, man, I want to save my marriage. And you're not willing to do the hard work. Gentlemen, I'm sorry, but a lot of you are just living in fantasy. You're living in a non-real reality, okay? A fantasy that somehow, if you just manipulate her, if you just say the right thing, if you just give her the right flowers, you just cling to her, if you just share that romantic text, that somehow she's going to come back to marriage with you. Gentlemen, it's fucking bullshit. Women don't turn around from their own fantasy of a relationship with some other man to come back to you because you did the dishes, or because you said, baby, I love you, or because you texted her, hey, sweet thing, how are you today? You know why? Because that dude's been doing it for a while now, and he's already gotten in there, and she cut herself off from you. If your wife is having an affair, it doesn't just come back. It takes time. It takes these things: full transparency, boundaries, working on herself, working on the marriage, full accountability. And until those things are happening, you do not have a marriage. You have a dead person. You have somebody who's not alive and has chosen to walk away from the marriage you had. So you can do what you want with that. But if I were you, I wouldn't waste the pain. If I were you, I'd begin to look at myself and go, all this smoke, all this stuff that's happening, I need to begin to look at me and to look internally and go, what about me that needs to be fixed? Go back and watch the Vision 360 training that I did last week. I talk about where you want to be in the next 3 to 6 months. Be able to answer those questions. What kind of man do you want to be? Do you want to be the lost little puppy dog, little boy who can't like get up and go to work? Or do you want to be the man that goes, you know what, I fucking hurt, but I'm moving forward. I'm moving forward. The pain I feel today will not be the same tomorrow. I'm going to continue to move forward. I'm going to continue to move forward. And when I don't, I give myself break. I give myself time to relax, to cry, to do whatever I got to do. And then I pick myself up and continue to move forward, continue to move forward. That is the only way to true freedom, guys. Because here's what happens. Most of you right now, this is what you're going to do. You're going to plead and cry and beg and all this shit. And then finally you're going to go, you know what? Fuck you then. I'm out, bitch. And you'll go and get a divorce. And you know what you'll do in the middle of that divorce? Maybe a week or two after you say fuck you to your wife, you'll be fucking some other girl. Or you'll be with some other chick and you'll start dating her. And she'll remind you of your wife, but you go, oh, these are the great things about my wife I miss. And next thing you know, 3, 6, 9 months later, you're now in a new, really serious relationship with someone who basically is almost a carbon copy of your wife and has the same issues, or she reminds you of certain things in you, and so therefore you still have the same issues in you because you never dealt with them, and now you're back in the same situation 3, 4, 5 years later. Why do you think so many people get married and divorced 3 times? Because they don't deal with their shit. They don't look at themselves and go, what the fuck needs to change about me? You know how many guys come through our program and are going on their 3rd marriage or at the end of their 2nd marriage and going, finally, you know what? After 2 marriages, I've started to realize I can't escape me. Gentlemen, you cannot escape you. You cannot get away from you. It's impossible. You are always where you will be. Think about that for a second. It doesn't matter how hot the girl is. It doesn't matter how much of a good cook she is or how good she is as a mom. It doesn't matter. That person will not always be with you. Even till death do us part, you can't escape you. And so the more you hate you, the more dysfunction that's in there and deep down inside, the more of that shit's going to come out in the marriage. Guess what? The more emotional disconnection will happen. The more dysfunctional communication will happen. The blurry boundaries where you have no boundaries and you don't even know what you value in life. You don't know who the fuck you are. All of those things are there because you are refusing to actually do the work. So I'm teaching you right now, these are the things that need to happen for a woman to come back to the marriage. But guys, none of that matters if you're not willing to do the work on you. Hey, if you want to do the work on you, I challenge you to join our VIP program. Guys, we don't accept most people because most guys aren't ready for it emotionally. That's the honest truth of it. Yeah, there's some guys that can't afford it financially. Most guys can. We have financing options, all kinds of stuff. But the fact of the matter is a lot of guys aren't ready for it because they don't want to do the work. And that's them, not me. So drop your questions below. I'm going to head off. I've got some of the things I got to do. If you have a deeper situation, let's book a call with our team, empoweredman.co/book, empoweredman.co/book. If you want to talk to our team about the VIP program, about your situation in particular, and whether or not we can actually help you with what's going on. All right, peace, gentlemen.
Hey, if what you heard today really resonated with you and you want to connect with me, then here's what I want you to do. Pull out your phone right now and go to empoweredman.co/group. That's empoweredman.co, not com.co/group. So you can join our free Facebook group and connect with me there. We also have a ton of free content and trainings in that group to help you when you join. So until then, this is Mark signing off on Empowered AF.